Okay, well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're so happy that you are here. It is cold and rainy outside, but it is warm and bright inside as we welcome Shabbat and each other. This evening, we're going to begin our service, as we always do, with words of welcome and gratitude. Hine matov umanaim, shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is that all of us are here together.
Hine matov umanaim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Shevet achim gam yachad.
We will continue with lighting candles, inviting hope and light into our space. I'll come down there, but again, if anyone wants to join me in lighting candles, you are welcome to. Oh, Carol, thank you.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'chad likner shel Shabbat.
Let's read together. The first mitzvah in the Torah is, let there be light. So we are commanded, in everything you do, be a menorah, a bringer of light. Live with honor, act with integrity, do your work with passion, and the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished, and may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you. As we approach Lechad Odi and welcome Shabbat, I'd like to invite us all to take a couple of deep breaths in and out. We can dim the lights here a little bit, think back to the week. Maybe there's something we want to take with us, maybe something we want to let go of or just hit pause on. And look ahead to these next 24 hours of rest and restoration. Consider what that rest might mean to us.
B'nei Shabbat Nikabla Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Umevorach Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Umevorach.
As we continue welcoming Shabbat, we'd like to offer these words, Teach Me, a poem by Leah Goldberg. If you have a prayer book, it's on page 27, or you can join with me here on the screen. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. We'll continue with Chatzi Kaddish, which is on page 26, and we invite you, if you're able to, please rise. Yit gadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabbah be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen yehi shemei rabbah mevorach le'alamu almei almaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yit'aleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudesha berichu le'ela min kol berchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechamata da'amiran be'alma ve'imeru amen. We'll remain standing if we're able for Baruchu.
La 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 ya ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya ya la 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 ya ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch et Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed Hamevorach Hamevorach Le'olam va'ed.
You may be seated. And we'll continue on page 30 with Ma'ariv Aravim in Hebrew and English, our prayer for creation, perhaps that mystery of a withered leaf on ripened fruit so fair, as Leah Goldberg wrote about. So please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. We'll continue in the English. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, ha-ma'ariv aravim. We'll continue with Shema, our declarative prayer of the oneness of God, the oneness that resides in each of us, words that Jews are saying tonight around the world together. I invite you, if you are able, to please rise.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Shem Kevod Mahuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha vidibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha uvshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Lihiyot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. We'll continue singing together with our prayer for freedom, Michamocha. I invite you to take something joyful from the week, something we can feel grateful for, and bring that into our prayer as we sing together, Michamocha. continue with Hashkivenu, a prayer that perhaps feels closer than ever as we pray that a shelter of peace, Sukkot Shalom, is spread over us, over all in need of shelter from hatred, from sorrow, from pain. We'll sing together Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom Yamidenu Shomrenu L'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom. Yamidenu Shomrenu L'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom. Yamidenu Shomrenu
We'll continue now with our Amidah prayers, beginning with Adonai Sifatai. I'd like to invite you, if you're able again, to please rise. Svatai Tiftach Ananana Ufi Agi Tehila Techa Baruch
Atah Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Agibor Ve'anora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'kunei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'ima'ot, U'mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Lema'an Shmo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Megen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol HaTorah LaHoshia, Mechalchel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofeh Oholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayehem Nato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'gevurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memid Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'aman Hata Lahayot Avo. Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yehallelu chasela. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. You may be seated, and we'll continue with some silent prayer using either pages 54 to 60 or whatever may be in your heart this evening.
Say Shalom, Shalom Bimromav, Uyase Shalom Aleinu, Ve'yalko Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Say Shalom, Shalom Bimromav, Uyase Shalom Aleinu, Ve'yalko Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Uyase Shalom Aleinu, Ve'yalko Yisrael, Amen. Oh, say Shalom, Shalom, Bimroma, Uyase Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'yalko Yisrael, Ve'imru Amen. Ve'yalko Yisrael, Amen.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
I'm really looking forward to sharing some experiences from my 5-day solidarity mission to Israel in February with some fellow Reform educators. This trip was in partnership with the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, as well as the Association of Reform Jewish Educators. So first, I want to express gratitude to both institutions, the Jim Joseph Foundation and Temple Beth Shalom, for making the trip and my participation possible. When people ask me about the trip, I experience strong, sometimes conflicting emotions. the beauty of Israel and Jerusalem, nostalgia of the streets I walked during my year of living there, the spiritual attunement and feeling of coming home. I feel all of these things strongly. And this time, the experience of a majority Jewish society contrasted with the anti-Semitism here in the United States was an unexpected comfort. But I also bore witness to trauma, grief, and anger. I felt hopelessness and despair, witnessed the deep complexity and pain of this conflict, but not without glimmers of hope. One scene that often comes to mind when people ask me is the enormous Saturday night protest we attended in Tel Aviv for the hostages' immediate return. A father, Ronan, was speaking for his 22-year-old son, Omer, held captive. And while speaking, he invoked a famous line from the Talmud, Kol Yisrael Aravim Ze Lazeh. All of the Jewish people are responsible for one another. This phrase has just been stuck in my head. I went because of this pull, this feeling of responsibility, to bear witness, to show solidarity, to embrace Israel and Israelis, to volunteer. And that shared responsibility consistently appeared on our trip through individual and communal tenacity, resilience, and commitment to dialogue and peace. Kol Am Yisrael, all of the Jewish people are responsible for one another, perhaps now more than ever, but perhaps also Kol Medinat Yisrael, all Israeli citizens are also responsible for one another and share the same destiny. Israel's atmosphere is quiet, tense, and in survival mode. We first noticed the airport was empty and popular sites were devoid of tourists and birthright buses. The faces of the hostages and yellow ribbons were everywhere. So for example, this is coming in from David Ben Gurion Airport, and the first faces you see are the faces of the hostages. This is an empty street at night in Jerusalem, probably would have more hustle and bustle with tourists. The Shuk, the open-air market in Jerusalem, was a little busier on a Friday afternoon before Shabbat, but it was still full of locals and displaced people rather than tourists. And as you can see here, the Western Wall on Shabbat was almost completely empty. This is the Israel's National Library in Jerusalem, and they have a prominent display for the hostages, an empty chair for each hostage with their photograph, and a book correlating to each of them in a different way. 200,000 Israelis from the north and south are still displaced and living all over the country, including the hotel we stayed in, the Dan Panorama in Jerusalem. Most evenings I saw families playing games in the hallway, parents clearly trying to entertain their kids with the feeling of a vacation that's now gone on for 5 months. A boy in a Spider-Man sweatshirt spoke to us in broken English on elevator rides, the hotel clearly very familiar territory. Volunteers are pouring hours into providing materials, education, and entertainment for displaced families, as well as helping out in other places. One of the things we did was volunteering on a farm in Beit Shemesh, sorting tomatoes to help the severe shortage of agricultural workers. While we were there, we met Israeli high schoolers who were also pitching in. We also traveled north to Kibbutz Gal'ed, a pop-up school built from the ground up for evacuated children. The school principal, who's here on the left in this photo, retired in August last year, but she came back when concerned parents asked her to establish this school. She found teachers and counselors, some of whom were also retired or even displaced themselves. Together, they turned these empty buildings into warm, colorful places of learning. Teachers and counselors lead daily check-ins for students to share how they're feeling emotionally. We met with a 5th grade class learning programming, but they all told us that they would rather be playing Fortnite. No matter where you go, kids are kids. This is Danny and Naomi, members of Kibbutz Nahal Oz and survivors of October 7th. They told us about that horrible day, a day that was planned to celebrate the 75-year anniversary of Kibbutz Nahal Oz. Instead, Danny and his wife Shivron heard shooting and shouting in Arabic in the early hours of the morning and sought shelter in their safe room. They saw Hamas terrorists going door to door through their bathroom window. Neighbors were texting and calling, crying for help. Their 3 children and grandchildren were 15 minutes away on the other side of the kibbutz. Danny's daughter-in-law had left early for work and called him in a panic, unable to return to her family, and her husband, Danny's son, wasn't texting back, while the other 2 were. Danny did not hear from his son for several hours, and even then, they couldn't really be sure that the texts were actually coming from him. Danny and Shivron assumed the worst for themselves and their family. When the IDF finally arrived at their home after nightfall, Shivron left with them to find their son and grandchildren. Danny said it was the longest 15 minutes of his life. He thought that she was gone for hours. But eventually, they all finally reunited at a checkpoint, their whole family alive. Danny mentioned a recent statistic that 70% of Palestinians support Hamas, but he said to us, that means 30% is the light. We have to focus on them, and we must bring hope to our children. The reality is bad, but I don't want to give up the hope. With everything Danny has gone through, he's still holding on to that hope and is still a peace activist. Naomi, here in the middle of this photo, was born here in the States, and she made Aliyah when she was young. She, her husband, and young children all survived, but she was too deeply upset to discuss her experience on October 7th. Instead, she said, "I have ocean-level depths of rage and betrayal towards the Israeli government, as well as the misrepresentation of the conflict in America." Naomi said October 7th was devastating, but being portrayed as the villains by the world might be even worse. She said, "Don't just cry with me, help me make a change." The hostages' faces are everywhere in Israel. This is the most front and center, emotionally charged issue in Israel, and it is beyond a boiling point. I will say my talk here is focusing on just what I experienced and not the geopolitical situation or any of the politics. This is probably the most political of what I'll be sharing tonight. Posters and yellow ribbons adorn businesses, homes, even art sculptures. For most Israelis, this connection is very personal. It's almost guaranteed they or someone they know has a direct loss or connection to a hostage. Here in this photo is a sign for hostage Karina Ariev, 19 years old, still being held captive. She is a family member of the president of synagogue Kol HaNeshama, the synagogue that we attended for Shabbat. She is one of 14 women still being held hostage. I mentioned before these signs at the airport. I wanted to zoom in on some of them showing handwritten messages from people who know these hostages personally. The photo on the left is from Mishmar HaEmek, the kibbutz that Danny and Naomi are temporarily staying on. This poster is for Tzachi and Omri, 2 hostages who are also members of the kibbutz. On the right is a yellow ribbon on an art sculpture in Jerusalem. We also had the privilege of meeting Lee and Natan Siegel, the brother and nephew of hostage and American citizen Keith Siegel. Keith and Lee were born in North Carolina, and Keith made Aliyah, moving to Israel at age 20. He and wife Aviva were kidnapped on their kibbutz and held hostage by Hamas. Lee and Natan described Aviva's experience, including being held by a terrorist family, at some point having to watch their children, not being given food or water, and lies that Israel had abandoned them. When Aviva was told she would be released, she refused to leave Keith's side. She was told by her captors that Keith would be released tomorrow. Obviously, that wasn't true. Keith is a music buff, conscious of cleanliness and exercise, and he needs medication that is not being delivered to him. Someone asked Lee and Natan how they're getting through the days. Natan answered, "Who says we are?" They've spoken with Israeli and American officials, but they're at the end of their rope, like most other families. Time is running out for their brother and uncle. On Saturday evening, we visited Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, an open plaza in front of the Art Museum. In the center is a wide table. Here's another angle. This table has one seat for each hostage, either still in Gaza or who has returned. And around the plaza are multiple art installations. You can see both sides of that table here on the left and one of the art installations on the right. We sang Havdalah, the ceremony to end Shabbat, with hostage members' families in a tent adorned with their faces. We prayed with light, song, and tears for this to be the last Shabbat without them. It's very painful for me to see these photos, knowing that almost another month has gone by since I was there. We then joined thousands of people in front of Hostage Square for the weekly protest to demand that the hostages return. It was especially poignant as the 134th day of the war, with 134 hostages remaining. Over 40 families spoke, parents, siblings, children, spouses. In the middle is Ronan, who I mentioned at the beginning of my talk, saying Kol Yisrael Aravim Ze Lazeh for his son Omer. In that second image on the right, I forget her name, but this is the mother of Almog speaking, just two of many families who spoke. We understood their pain and desperation, even if we couldn't fully understand all the Hebrew. One woman who returned from captivity with her two daughters called on the mic to her husband, still in Gaza, "Good night, I miss you. Your daughters miss you. Come home." When we asked Lee and Natan Siegel what we can do an ocean away, they told us to not stop talking about the hostages and their stories, to keep supporting them from afar. In that light, every hostage, of course, is important and must come home, but today is also International Women's Day. So before I move on, I feel it's necessary to pause and name the 14 women who are still being held in Gaza. Daron, Noah, Karina, Liri, Carmel, Eden, Shiri, Ariel, Naama, Amit, Romy, Daniela, Agam, and Emily. May this really be the last Shabbat without them and all the hostages safely home. Finally, we also met individuals seeking peace through dialogue, even in this complex, harrowing, and painful conflict, especially now. In Israel, education is siloed by religious communities. Orthodox Jews, secular Jews and Israelis, Muslim Israelis, Druze Israelis, and so on, all learned separately. But the 7 Yad B'Yad, or hand-in-hand schools in Israel, offer a different model, one open to all students with Hebrew and Arabic learning and a diverse teaching staff, almost 50-50 Jewish and Arab. Rabbi Oded of Synagogue Kol HaNeshama, also a school parent, showed us the signs for the school bomb shelter in both Hebrew and Arabic. When Hamas has been firing rockets towards Jerusalem, the sirens go off and everyone goes into the bomb shelter together. The first time this happened, it was a very powerful moment for the school, as he described the feeling of the Jewish students knowing that Arab teachers would still protect them no matter what, and vice versa. This photo on the left are those signs in Hebrew and Arabic to the shelter. On the right is high school principal Efrat, who shared with us how dialogue during the war is a painful struggle, especially between Jewish and Arab students and parents, who may see their perceived enemy on the other side. The fact that graduating Jewish students are drafted into the military is especially difficult and unsolvable, and it became a tragic reality when a graduate soldier, pictured here, Nicholas Berger, was tragically killed in Gaza recently. We also met with Dr. Mohammed Dawarshi, a founder of Yad B'Yad and a peace educator who now leads the Givat Haviva Center, running peace encounters and dialogues between Jewish and Arab students, as well as a predominantly Arab high school. Dr. Dawarshi shared a lived experience as an Israeli Arab that is often glossed over in this highly charged and polarized atmosphere of this war. He told us about his children who are pursuing advanced degrees in Israel, his opinions about the government, and how his family was directly impacted by October 7th. His cousin Awad was a paramedic killed by Hamas at the Nova Music Festival because instead of trying to escape, Awad administered medical care to those desperately in need. After October 7th, 300 evacuees arrived at the center with nowhere to go, and they ended up staying until the end of December. Arab high schoolers were suddenly sharing space with traumatized Jewish families. This was not an intentionally planned encounter with professional educators, which Dr. Dawarshe usually leads. But slowly, and by their own initiative, Jewish and Arab children started playing together, which even turned into having lunch every day together. Perhaps some small shreds of understanding and openness came from those interactions. The question of apartheid also arose in our conversation. Dr. Dawarshe answered that Israel's founding documents explicitly uphold peace and equality for all of its citizens. He does not view Israel as an apartheid state, but a yet-to-be-fulfilled vision of Israel's founders. He believes that is still possible, and he works towards that ideal, along with Efrat and many others, every day. Kol Yisrael Aravim Ze Lazeh. I've spoken a lot about our care and our support to Israel, but that it was received back to us was completely unexpected. Everywhere we went, almost every Israeli, including children, asked about how we American Jews are doing. We did not expect this question at all, and we heard it over and over again. They are concerned about us. They are concerned about the anti-Semitism that we ourselves are facing. And they told us under no uncertain terms that they are here to support us too. Naomi said, Israel is fighting their war against Hamas, but we Jews outside Israel are fighting our own war too, one against the rest of the world. I often told Israelis, our speakers, shopkeepers, friends, waiters, that I was there in Israel to give them a hug and support them on behalf of hundreds of people in my community. I want you to know that not only was that hug received, but that they are also holding us back. All of us are responsible for one another. That responsibility transcends politics, religious observance, and distance. Of course, it does not mean that we completely align with world leaders and governments, that we cannot be rightfully critical of Israel's policies and military actions, nor that we exclude our empathy towards other innocent people. But we show up for each other. We hold them from afar. We advocate for each other's safety and well-being and peace, even if they are strangers. We open ourselves to stories of pain and grief so that we can be deeply moved. We allow ourselves to be uncomfortable. Of course, we demand that the hostages come home. Like Naomi said, we cry with each other, and then we commit to change. In our closing session, my HUC professor Jeremy Lee said, we can't tikkun olam our way out of this one. It might be too soon to say that Israel and world Jewry has been changed by the events of October 7th and the war forever. I have a suspicion that it has. But regardless, we are living in a historical turning point unlike anything before. We have to sit with uncomfortable feelings, learning and conversations, and also complexity. We have to take care of each other more fiercely than ever before, both inward and outward. But like Danny said, I believe I will not give up the hope, Hatikva. In the words of Israel's national anthem, Od lo avda tikvatenu. Perhaps still and perhaps especially now, our hope cannot be lost. Shabbat Shalom, and I hope that you can join me on March 19th for a deeper dive into my trip. You may not be able to believe it, but there's even more experiences, photos, videos, things for us to share and continue discussing together. We'll now sing Olam Chesed Yibaneh. May we please, please build this world from love.
Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. 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 I will build this world from love. Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. You must build this world from love. Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. If we build this world from love, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. God will build this world from love. Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. 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 Yalalai, yalalai, yalalai.
Thank you again for the opportunity to share these experiences, for us to hold all of that together. I wish I had answers. I wish I had easy fixes. But as we move towards Misha Berach, we know that sometimes there are no easy fixes. And all we can do is just sit in the hurt and the pain and the not knowing what comes next, and simply be there for each other. I know that many of us here and in our community are in need of healing. Many Jews in America, I'm thinking especially of our college campuses, and in Israel and around the world, and that there is just so much pain and hurt in all of this, that I hope we can extend our hearts as much as possible and be a part of that healing, of building our world from love. But first, let's bring it back to the personal, as we are thinking of many in our community who are in much need of love and healing. We are praying for Asher Benaya, Ben Harav Gavriela, David Eli, Jonathan Adler, Nancy Ashley, Lori Barr, Sarah Bates, Margie Block, John Bratta, Ann Clark, Keith Clark, Bruce Cohen, Mia Cooley, Ella Dubrow, Sam Edelman, Marilyn Friedman, Alan Goldberg, Carolyn Goldmark, Beth Jasolowitz, Dan Lang, Shelley London, Minna Melton, Phyllis Miles, Lisa Pena, Jeremy Phelan, Ian Phillips, Rashi Pristowski, Stanley Radin, Jessica Rathkopf, Steve Rubenstein, Ulrike Sachs, Robert Sachs, Rolf Sauer, Anya Torres, Shauna Sokol, Jeff Spector, Alik Thadike, Ossie Zimmer, and Shelley Zimmerman, and any names of folks whom you would like to include tonight. For each of them and for everyone, named or unnamed, in need of healing, Misha Berach.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us say, Amen. Ishebera imotenu mikor habrecha neavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And let us say, Amen.
We'll begin concluding our service with Bayom Hahu. On that day, God's name shall be one, and there will be unity and peace throughout the earth. Hopefully a day not too far off. That might be a tall order. But we'll keep hoping. We'll keep hoping for it. As we approach Kaddish Yatom, our prayer of memory, I invite you, if you are able, to please rise. Israeli poet Hannah Shenesh wrote, "There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. And as we live our days, these are the ways we remember." We're first recalling those whom we've lost within the last 30 days and are observing Shloshim. We remember Philip Leonard and John Leonard. We're also recalling those whom we lost at this season and are observing Yartzeit. We're remembering Leah K. Apotheker, Gussie Applebaum, Sam Chait, Marianne Colangelo, Henry Dreyfus, Thomas Dubin, Catherine K. Goodman-Feinknopf, Sylvia Feinstein, Robert Freed, Tammy Golden, Bessie Height, Henry Canast, Charles Lorber, Herb Lustig, Simon Mart, Dolores Meltzer, William Papier, Fania Rutkiewicz, and Irv Schiffman. And of course, any names you'd like to add at this time or pronunciations that need to be corrected. For each of them and for all those who have been a blessing, we'll recite Mourner's Kaddish, page 294, or on our screens. Yit Gadal ve'yit Kadash shemei decho Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kari ve'imru amen. Yehi shemei rabba mivarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yit barach ve'yishtabach ve'yit pa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yit naseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudesha,